Okay, so this is the general setup for the white Prismacolor on black paper drawing. You've been doing a lot of reductive drawing and additive drawing in charcoal, and I wanted you to apply kind of an extension of those principles towards an additive process on black paper. Essentially, we'll be drawing the light, and we'll also will use the white to actually capture the light. Now, this will lead us into color, so it's something that we'll kind of look at the value structure first, and then look at the color second. But for now, I just wanted you to look at the general setup. Once I start to draw, I'll zoom in closer to the paper so you can see what I'm doing, but you'll have a frame of reference from here on in. Now, when you start this, you want your Prismacolor to be nice and sharp because you're going to start working with it on its side, and you'll kind of slowly work from the highlight areas out into the shadows using the white as your guide. Later you'll translate this from white to a color, but to separate the two issues right now will make it simpler if you understand. And I'm going to zoom, I'm going to look maybe a little bit more closely at one of the claws and the head structure as I go into this. Okay, so I'm just going to start off in I see a highlight in the area of the head. I'm just going to put that highlight down there. And I'm going to lighten my touch a little bit. I'm going to kind of work that out from that highlight. Try to find the edge of that form. Now, because I'm working on the side, I'm not going to have a line scored into the paper yet at this stage, and that will give me some options as I go along. Now, for example, when I go to develop this edge here, I still haven't got my proportions down. I'm just responding to the light right now. So this edge may change shape a little bit as I develop the piece. If I put a line down initially and work back from that, I am not going to be able to change that line. At least it'll be a lot of work to change that line. It'll kind of dictate what I do with the drawing. This way, this edge is what I refer to as a soft edge, and I can move it in or out. Mostly I'm going to move it out. That's kind of the general idea as I kind of find my form. If I work with the pencil on its side, I have a long, if I keep it nice and sharp, I have a nice long, even, flat edge to lay down an even layer. If you use a razor knife or something like that, you might end up with a bit of a lumpy pencil lead, and so what will happen is you might end up leaving a lot of scratch, like scores and lines that you don't really want. Yeah, I just kind of find that shape in there. It's pretty soft. I see the sort of arm shape coming off. I'm going to say about here right now, so I just see a little bit of a light. And I can kind of catch that highlight that runs along that edge. And just put a, like, give an indication of where that leg is going to be. And then maybe move to that next little segment. Give myself a little patch of light in that shape there. And that will lead me into the claw. Okay, and as I go through this a few times, I can tighten up all those forms. And in the claw, I'm going to see nice, right on the base of the claw, there's this really nice strong light. And I'm going to just put that in there. Do it pretty soft right now. And that will give me a sense of where that claw is going. As I get to the outer edge, there's also a bit of a brighter area of light, and it kind of curves around like this. Now this way I can keep my line soft and exact my curve as I go along. Okay, I see this light goes around into this necessarily have to do too much in here yet, and this is the area I'm going to work with. But what I'll do is I'll kind of go back through my forms and I'll make them a little bit closer to what I'm seeing, but I'll start in the highlight, and as I go along I'll check my form a little bit. So I see this gets a little brighter here, and his angle's kind of up like this, and we have some of this kind of shape going on, and a little brighter patch in there, and this next joint comes off here. I can see the light in here. I can also see a little bit of a brighter area back in here. It gives me a bit of an edge to take it back. Put that in there. So what I'm doing is I'm creating these little landmarks that are loose, that are more or less in the right spot, but I have the option to move them. Now I can see the claw shape coming off of there a little bit more, so I could take this bright area down a little bit further and broaden it out, and then take a look at how it kind of breaks into two different planes here, but it's definitely brighter right in here. I'm going to make that a little bit brighter now. Highlight again that I can see going around the edge of that claw, and just kind of follow that little line of light, bridge these two planes because it is one shape, and here, and it broadens out back here, almost like a knuckle. Broadens out a little bit here as it goes into that rib. Keep them nice and sharp. You can see it's pretty much additive. You can take away, but it's a lot harder to take away with this like very waxy crayon here. So just build it up gradually. I have a general curve here. I'll kind of examine this curve again here. Again, just look at the light along that edge. Try not to touch it. As you're finding these forms in here, don't rush. Okay, I need to find the other side of this. I'm going to work back on the side again. Some nice little shadows back in here. See a couple little patches. I'm not sure if they're right there. Now this is starting to make sense. Same way as when you were drawing the face. Once that form starts to make sense to you, you'll find some of those kind of hidden forms. So I've tidied up the value structure a little bit and tied a few of the lights together, much the way you guys did in the eyes. What I wanted to show you is when you do this first, when you create the value structure first, it's as simple as separating one issue from another. And by that I mean you separate the value structure from the color, which is very much akin to Renaissance painting, where value structure would be laid out and then layers of color would be put on over top of that. And with this first initial drawing anyway, I've exaggerated the value tone. I've hardened it up a little bit so there's not a lot of room left for the color. What will happen is as you progress forward and do drawing after drawing, you'll use white less to address the color, and you'll use the local color or the color of the object, the main color you see, to create the light as you've shaped that object. And then you can layer the other colors over top of that. Okay, so I'm going to get in here right now. I'm just going to go right in here with one color, and I'll just layer it right over top of here. I'm going to put it right over top of the claw here. And I'm just going to lay like a really light coating, and it's going to catch the tooth where I haven't put a lot of white, and it's going to kind of go over the white and mix with the white in those areas. I don't have to vary the pressure of the pencil. I really can just put a layer right over top. And this cadmium red will go lighter where the white is, and it will go darker where the dark is. Now overall color isn't that simple, but it's easier to handle if you separate the color or recognize that there's a value structure to the color. It's not just laying color over a form. If you put color over it and there's no value structure, it won't give you any type of shape whatsoever. So look at the value structure and work towards the form. Now I'm going in with a single color. Once you're comfortable with this, you would go in with a range of colors, and you may not use white at all. Now you'll adapt this as you understand how it works. And by the time you've done 3 to 4 drawings in this, you'll feel pretty comfortable with it. Now I'm kind of brightening up the color in a couple of spots. Now what happens is when you just use white with your color to brighten it, the color is somewhat flat, so this isn't something you will do when you really want rich, vivid colors. This is a tool to learning how color works and how the value of color works in conjunction with the structure of the overall form. The more delicately you lay down your value structure, the better this is going to work. And it will probably take you a couple of drawings before you're adjusting for the value of leaving the dark, like before you're able to adjust and maintain your darks. If you want to, you could go back over top of this with the white. Is possible. You're never going to get it white, bright white again. You can see it starts to mix a little bit. And the surface starts to get a little waxy. So it's a different texture. I don't think a very nice one. You can see it has a different feel from the area around it. Now I'm putting a little bit more color on there to push it a little bit. If I wanted to go back in and darken it, so say I lost a couple of lines, I'd go in with a dark blue or a complement to the bright color that I'm using, and I might go back in there and redefine a couple of shadows, like maybe in an area like this. Just darken it back down a little bit again. Oops. Got a little too blue there. I could always negate that blue by going over it with some red. And again, that's just trying to get a few little darks back just to show you if you went to any of those little areas where you want to get this dark. And you can take it down. Right. Conversely, if I want to get into some of these areas and make it go a little bit brighter, I could take the next color on the color wheel, lighter orange in this case, and I could go into layer that over and brighten up. And so you see how the color starts to get a little richer once you get more than one color laid in there. And it's the layering of the colors that really gives it a nice glow. Okay. Anyway, so you kind of progress in that direction. The end.